welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! This is a podcast based on a blog of the same name because we're aiming for notoriety, like the Hotel Cortez. Well, maybe not that kind of notoriety. My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out the blog at couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU, ! Hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays, and as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the panelists and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are published once per week, so subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and via Google Play to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows, including but not limited to Doctor Who, Downton Abbey, How to Get Away with Murder, Broadchurch, Marvel's Daredevil and Jessica Jones, Once Upon a Time, New Girl, The Vampire Diaries, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Gotham, Supernatural, Game of Thrones, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Arrow, The Flash, and The X-Files. From its inception through its revival, we've taken a look back at True Blood, Ally McBeal, Futurama, Desperate Housewives, and 6 Feet Under, and more episodes are in the works, including new panels covering The 100, Grimm, and Stranger Things, a new series looking back at Full House and looking forward at Fuller House, a new entry in our Marvel's Defenders series which will be covering Luke Cage. Our DC Television Universe panel will shortly be covering the first seasons of Legends of Tomorrow and of Supergirl, and new episodes looking back at older shows will include That 70s Show, Gallivant, and Glee. What's more, CPU from time to time goes live. We've appeared at Comedy Outlet Mondays at Dog Story Theater and at Grand Rapids Comic-Con in Grand Rapids, Michigan while streaming live on Facebook. More live appearances are being planned, so make sure you like us at our Facebook page, our Twitter, follow us at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, and or our Pinterest at CPU Podcast, or subscribe to the blog, our YouTube channel, our iTunes channel, our Stitcher Radio channel, or find us on Google Play. In the meantime, if you don't hear your show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews and we're always seeking new panelists, so if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any one of those outlets aforementioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback, just keep it clean, people. Keep it clean. Today we're around the water cooler as a continuation of another brand new CPU podcast series. This series won't have a fixed number of episodes like other series we do. Rather, it will be ongoing as the show is still on the air. However, we're covering it over multiple episodes because it is an anthology series and actually the first of its kind in recent years. Welcome to the 5th episode of our American Horror Story series. In this series, we've already discussed seasons 1 through 4. Today, we're moving to the 5th season, officially subtitled Hotel. Described as an anthology series, each season of American Horror Story is conceived as a self-contained miniseries following a disparate set of characters and settings and a storyline with its own beginning, middle, and end. Some plot elements are loosely inspired by true events. The 5th season, subtitled Hotel, takes place in Los Angeles, California during the year 2015 and focuses on the staff and guests of a supernatural hotel. In Season 5, the viewer learns that the haunted retro Hotel Cortez was built to become a torture chamber for the customers by the founder James Patrick March, played by Evan Peters. The wardens of the hotel include a 111-year-old vampire Elizabeth Johnson, played by Lady Gaga, and the front desk clerk and manager Iris, played by Kathy Bates. The residents and guests include the drug-addicted prostitute ghost Sally McKenna, played by Sarah Paulson, Iris's hateful son and former drug addict turned vampire lover of Elizabeth Donovan, played by Matt Bomer, transgender bartender Liz Taylor, played by Dennis O'Hare, actress and vengeful former lover of Elizabeth Ramona Royale, played by Angela Bassett, male model heartthrob and murder addict Tristan Duffy, played by Finn Whitrock, New York fashion designer and purchaser Will Drake, played by Cheyenne Jackson, and the suspicious detective John Lowe, played by Wes Bentley, and his depressed wife Alex, played by Chloe Sevigny. When Lowe checks into the hotel, he doesn't know that he's being targeted by a serial murderer, the Ten Commandments killer, causing inside and outside forces of danger to crash together within the hotel. Themes of this season include addiction, a glimpse into a descent toward madness, and forgiveness. Apart from modern-day settings, there are flashbacks to the 1920s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and an epilogue set in 2022. As we sit around the water cooler for our American Horror Story series of podcast episodes, each new episode will feature a different moderator, although there are only 3 of us, so it rotates pretty quickly. Today's episode will be moderated by he who moderated the Asylum episode, and whose voice loyal CPU listeners have probably heard almost as much as mine, or maybe panelist Kristen's. Without too much ado, then, I'd like to reintroduce Nick as today's moderator. Take it away, Nick.
Hello, thanks Kylie. I am Nick and I am moderating this season. Let us get right to our character questions to see how the other 2 panelists feel about this season. Were you as addicted to the season as Sally is to heroin? Are you devoted to the season despite its flaws, like Iris is devoted to her son Donovan? Are you as obsessed with this season as Donovan is obsessed with the Countess? Did you need this season as much as the Countess needs pure blood? Do you feel as betrayed by this season as Ramona Royale felt betrayed by the Countess? Did you like it for its charm, but want to make changes to it like Will Drake wanted to change the Cortez? Did you want to divorce this season from the rest of the anthology like Alex Lowe wanted to divorce her husband, Detective Lowe? Did you devour this season like a horde of roving vampire children? Or did you like this season because you're a psychopath like John Patrick Marsh or Detective Lowe? Kylie, why don't you start?
Why don't I start? Okay. I think I'm Will Drake. Read that one again.
Did you like it for its charm but want to make changes to it?
Yep, that one.
I wrote that one just for you, Kylie.
I still liked Hotel. I still like American Horror Story no matter what they do. I like that they go for whatever they're going for with gusto. But now having come out the back end of Hotel and having watched the 5 aired seasons other than Roanoke, which is currently in season, I like it about equivalently to Asylum, which if you listen to the first 4 parts of this series, you'll know that Asylum is my least favorite. So now Asylum and Hotel are about the same. I might like Asylum a little better. I haven't decided about that, though, yet.
It's just the ones I moderate, right?
It's nothing personal, Nick.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm here.
And Sarah's a psychopath, so we know her answer.
I actually was going to say Will Drake as well. I like it, and I think it has a lot of charms to it. There are a couple little tweaks I would make, but overall, I actually enjoyed this season, so that was interesting for me because I thought I was going to hate it at first, and then I really kind of settled in there.
I think I would agree. I think I started liking it since I'm married to Sarah, just so everyone knows. We watched the season together.
As a reminder.
Yeah. We watched the season together, and I think I feel the same as Sarah, except I probably started liking it a lot more sooner. Like I wanted to make less changes sooner. So now that we kind of know where we stand, I think it's kind of important for this show specifically to talk about casting. I'm curious how everyone else feels about who was there, who's new, who was missing. Obviously, the big notables being Lady Gaga joined the cast this season, and Jessica Lange is no longer with us. So how do we feel about that and anyone else that may not have been there?
So I'll start this question.
Well, I was looking right at you.
I know. But I'm ready for the challenge, Nick. I felt the absence of Jessica Lange, even though she's played a lot of stereotypical characters that have kind of repetitive elements to it. She's such a tour de force that Hotel as a season felt flattered to me. Lady Gaga was better than I expected her to be. I did not know that she was going to be quite as good a performer as she ended up being. I think it kind of helps that she was cast as a vampire. I think that character and the way that character was built pretty much falls within the idiom of who she is as a performer, so it wasn't much of a stretch. But at the same time, did I care if she was there? Not a whole lot. Mm-hmm. The Countess character didn't do it for me. The only way she mattered to me was as she related to other stronger characters, which included, for example, Matt Bomer's Donovan. I liked his character a lot. I think he was complex and interesting and also nice to look at. And I think he wouldn't be as complex and as interesting without the Countess. I also feel like her effect on some of the other characters was interesting, but, and we'll probably talk about this in a second, you know, there were 3 major plot lines. This one, the Ten Commandments killer, and then the ghosts of the hotel. And I felt like this one was the weakest of the 3.
The vampire?
The vampire, Lady Gaga's Countess character and her relationship to the other characters.
I would agree with that. I almost forgot that vampires were in this season a couple times. Like,
are you guys serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Totes serious, Sarah.
I thought that was the best thing.
well, how did you feel about Lady Gaga and a lack of Jessica Lange?
I did not miss Jessica Lange. I enjoy her, but I did not miss her. Lady Gaga. Oh, Lady Gaga. Well, she was way better than I thought. Honestly, I was like, why are they even using her? She's not an actor. She did a pretty decent job. There was only a couple episodes in there, and it was where they flashed back to her, like, before she was a vampire, and I was like, she's not really handling this very well. But for the most part, she did a good job. But I will say, all she really did was kind of flounce around in pasties and in a thong and hump on up on some people.
Do you feel that was intentional? Like, slowly, we have tried to get people to watch using this name. I don't know if it worked, but then kind of just slowly use her a little bit, and then as time goes on, as if people forgot, oh, it's Lady Gaga, and
I don't know what the intention was. That's a good question.
Because I felt she was barely in the first couple episodes.
She was. I think she was a little bit of a stunt cast. I mean, without Jessica Lange, they needed somebody who was in the cast who would convince people to come back. Not to say that Kathy Bates and Sarah Paulson and Evan Peters and Angela Bassett and some of these other regulars that have repeatedly come wouldn't be the draw, but there's sort of this usually essential character, and it has always been Jessica Lange that kind of the other characters revolved around. She's a fairly big-named actress, and I feel like they cast Lady Gaga, who has gone on to now be in the Roanoke season, so she's become one of the anthology players. I think she was a stunt cast initially, but I also think that I agree with Sarah. She was basically there to wear pasties and thongs and do a lot of sexy things.
She's very striking looking, so it was interesting at first because you were like, ooh, is she like a rich, fancy lady? Or is she like is she like a weird... I don't know. Like, they were dressing her very beautifully and putting on all this makeup, and she can carry that sort of thing off very well. I want to say, too, I really think she's great talent, and I think she's a great artist, so I'm not trying to take anything away from her, but I think it was definitely a stunt sort of a situation. But that being said, I mean, I can't think of anybody else I would have preferred to play that role. Like, nobody else leaps to mind where I'm like, oh, that should have been so-and-so. That should have been Reese Witherspoon or somebody, you know. Like, should not have been Reese Witherspoon.
No.
But I can't think of somebody that I would have preferred. So.
And I felt better about it once I got into the mindset that she didn't replace Jessica Lange. Jessica Lange left, and they also added Lady Gaga as 2 separate things. And I also felt as the season went on, Dennis O'Hare kind of like almost filled that Jessica Lange role of just the power and the talent, and the character got more and more integral.
He's awesome.
He is awesome. This was a really great performance, and probably my favorite of Dennis O'Hare's over the course of the 5 seasons that we talked about.
I don't have any problem agreeing with that. It just to also say that I loved him in all of the seasons, so that says a lot that this is the best.
Yeah, I think in Freak Show they didn't do as much with his character as they could have. They kind of gave him a juicy backstory, but then they didn't really explore it that much. So this is the one where they really like went into his history, and
they didn't let him talk in season 3.
Yeah,
that's true.
But he still did a lot with that.
This was my favorite Evan Peters performance.
This was one of mine. I don't know if it would be my favorite. He reminded me of Johnny Depp a lot in this season.
Yeah, his eyes were very, intense.
And sort of his affected voice, to sort of that turn of the century John.
His was the most different than his other characters, I think, helps set him apart for me this season. I really enjoyed his portrayal. I also wanted to mention, because she's my favorite, Frances Conroy was not here, and that upset me. But we don't have to talk about it if no one else doesn't care.
Well,
I love her, but I didn't actually miss her, and I don't know how she would have fit.
Yeah, I don't either, because I loved Mare Winningham. She's one of the new people that I hope is at least
this isn't her
episode.
first season.
No, she appeared in
right.
Coven.
Right, she did more here.
Yeah.
Or she stood out more to me, because I barely remember that character.
She was
She
Evan
was
Peters' mom.
she was in Freak Show too.
Was she?
Yeah, she was Pepper's sister.
Was
Yes,
she?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. We looked it up when we were watching.
You're right, she was.
What I kind of think is with this character Hazel Evers, nothing against Mare, but I wonder if they asked Frances and she wasn't available, so then Mare did it. It kind of seemed like that to me. It was kind of a. It reminded me of her from the first season, almost, kind of, maybe a little bit. I don't know.
Because they were both like cleaning stuff.
Yeah, cleaning.
Well, maybe they didn't offer it to her because she did that.
That's true.
I mean, I think her age difference and sort of the adulation that the Hazel character has for, Marge would be creepier even still.
Which I found odd and ironic. I mean, if her own child was killed by a serial killer and then she goes and is obsessed with a serial killer, that's weird, I guess.
Well,
maybe
that's all
that's
the characters were off.
All
the characters had issues.
That juxtaposition was weird. I mean, I guess that's the point of it, but
Yeah.
I don't know. That would be maybe one of my Will Drakeisms I could tweak and fix somehow.
Will Drake was another new actor who has gone on to do Roanoke as well. So,
Yes.
are you guys excited that he's in another season?
Well, I love Cheyenne Jackson because he's one of our Broadway friends.
Yes.
And
Okay.
He appeared on 30 Rock.
yes.
I liked him. I liked his role. Really, I liked all of the male performers in this season quite a lot. And there's not one that I had a problem with. And I think he's a great addition to their rotating roster.
I feel like you didn't. Was it just Lady Gaga, or was there a different female actor that you didn't care for?
Go ahead.
I think Sarah Paulson's a great actress, but this was not my favorite character for her.
Although she was nominated for an Emmy for it.
I found it weird. It was unclear what her motivations were. Was she dead? Was she alive? Was she here? I couldn't follow it, and it took away from the story for me. Instead of it being a mysterious thing, ooh, eerie, it was what is she doing? I don't understand. And I just didn't think it gave her enough room for showing off her skills, I guess. Some kind of one-dimensional.
It was my least favorite Sarah Paulson character, but I did like her other character in the season.
Yeah,
though.
Billy Dean.
She
Seeing more
was
of
a
her.
reprise of her Murder House character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kylie, you touched on this, and I wanted to bring it up anyway. The fact that every season kind of has, this is what it is. It's a haunted house. It's an asylum. Freak Show Coven. This is haunted hotel that vampires live in and serial killers. Does that take away from this season that it's not as focused on something, or does it bring more to explore?
Well, Nick, I have an answer for that.
Good.
To me, Hotel suffered from a lot of the same problems that plagued Asylum. There seemed to be a lot of different directions, and unlike Asylum, it was at least limited to these three big chunks, as opposed to, Nazi doctor, religious nun, and corrupt priest, and possessed nun, and Pepper, all Santa, that evil Santa dude, and Frank, all the different people that were in the asylum. This one was more centered on these three chunks. However, it took a very long time to kind of weave those three chunks together in a way that was believable, and that you were kind of oh, okay, that sort of kind of makes some sense. Also, the vampire piece of it was less interesting to me overall. I'm a great fan of vampire fiction. I watch all the vampire shows, not the sparkly kind. But any vampire shows that have ever existed, I have watched them. I think this is the weakest vampire storyline I think I've ever seen, and that's not because of any performer. I think that's the writing. There was no real good explanation of how that aspect of it fit into this supernatural hotel, or why we should have cared about the vampire. Going back to the female performers that I thought were underused, while I didn't feel as strongly about Sarah Paulson as Sarah had, I thought she did at least an interesting character that was different from her other characters. I was disappointed by Angela Bassett this time, but I think that's because they gave her kind of a cookie-cutter character that didn't go anywhere and didn't do anything other than eat people. You know? Pine after Lady Gaga's character.
She came in late in the season and kind of disappeared for a little while when she was locked away. So it did feel like Angela Bassett was not being utilized to her full potential. Didn't feel like a three-dimensional character either to me. And I also agree with what you said about vampire. I don't love vampire storylines. I don't seek them out. So I didn't mind that it was understated, but in the grand scheme of the story, I don't know why we needed vampires if we are already just going to have a haunted hotel.
I thought it was great. Just because it was different. At least they didn't just make it the same old vampire thing. They made it, this is a virus that infects your blood, but the blood, I just thought it was really creative. I don't know. I don't love it.
Like I said, I didn't mind it. Why wasn't it, without using the word vampire in the title, because that gives away a lot, but why wasn't it basically American Horror Story vampire?
Well, I thought that it was maybe because where's a vampire going to live where they're not being conspicuous about the fact that they live forever? You could probably kick it around in a gross old hotel for a couple decades. I don't know. I thought it made sense, and also when you think about hotels, like, so many people come and go in hotels, and think about how many people actually probably do die in hotels. Like, I know you don't think about it when you're there, but even swanky ones. So it does add a lot of, like, to me, the murder house story, remember I kept saying, why are all these people dying in this house? Like, what's the deal? In a hotel, I get it. There's more people in and out. It almost just made more sense to me.
So I have two reactions to this. One reaction is that there's already been a vampire show that has set the vampires in the hotel, and that was the spinoff from Buffy, Angel. Angel sets up his detective agency after the first season in a hotel, and vampires frequently come to fight them in the hotel. So for me, this was not something new. Also, this is not the first time that vampirism has been presented as a virus. There's been other fictional, although I don't know if it's always been on TV, but I know there are books that present vampirism as more of a virus sort of storyline. So for me, it was superfluous, and kind of piggybacking on Nick's point, but also hearkening back to something he said during the Asylum episode. To me, the vampires rang like the aliens. You know, they presented the vampires, it was more integrated into the story than the aliens were integrated into Asylum, but they could have very easily done an American Horror Story UFO or American Horror Story Aliens, as they could also have done an American Horror Story Vampires or American Horror Story whatever they want to do. There's lots of places vampires go. They're supposed to be just like us. There were more murders being done by John Patrick March and his serial killer ghosts than there were, or even the ghosts within the hotel, than there were the vampires themselves. So to me, it just felt like piling on. The most intriguing storyline to me was the Ten Commandments killer, because of who it ended up being, even though I knew it from the off. But then the ghosts were the next thing, because you had to figure out who was the ghost, who was not the ghost. Like you said, it was hard to follow Sarah Paulson, although she does get thrown out of her window early on, I think. So.
I don't know. To me, you could be talking about Murder House right now, and I would be with you, or Asylum. We have a serial killer, we have to figure out, oh, look who it is, blah, blah, blah. Or the ghost. Oh, who's dead? Who's alive? Why are all these ghosts here? To me, that's the storyline that seems like a redo. But maybe
there's always a serial killer, whether it's a two-parter of the X-Man or if it's Bloody Face. There's always a serial killer.
But maybe this is the beauty of this show, is that what spoke to one person didn't speak to other people. I don't know.
That's true.
But I enjoyed the vampire thing more than anything else. So.
One last thing about the vampires. Since there were vampires in there, I love that it had ties to old Hollywood, just because I love thinking of, like, Bela Lugosi as Dracula, and there was just some tie-ins. And I like that the flashback where we meet Valentino and Lady Gaga's character back in time. I enjoyed that style of shooting, that 1930s classic Hollywood. I like that a lot, but I guess anything else on vampires? Check that off the list. I thought it added a really, really interesting aspect to the little boy being kidnapped, and then Alex, which was played by Chloe Sevigny, having to make a choice between her living daughter or her undead son, who she's now found, and does she choose to be with her daughter forever, or does she choose to be with her son? I thought that was a very interesting dynamic and an interesting choice that they set up.
It was. And to that end, I guess, having the vampires there, at least there, like I said, it took a while to dovetail all that together, so there was a purpose for it in the end, but at the same time, it just felt, I don't know. I know you said that the ghosts feel like a redo from Murder House, and you're right, they did, but also vampire fiction is everywhere, so I just felt like a lot of it was retread.
And it looks like, from what I hear of Roanoke, and then definitely the rumors of the next season, and this season, did quite a bit of crossing over with seasons 1 and 3, that the ghost thing is really going to help tie these long periods of time that these seasons span together. So I don't think we're going to be done with the ghost, and then the introduction of the vampires, I don't know how we could be done with that if they can live forever. Some of those characters can keep coming back.
So have you noticed, I noticed finally, and I don't think we've talked about it, the odd seasons are in present day and the even seasons are in period. Is that significant and how? That's what I want to know.
My first reaction to that to say that I don't think it's significant, because a lot of them, you're right. I don't know if it's significant. Because, we do move into the future for some of those, or we get lots of flashbacks. I'm not sure how significant it is. I don't know if Ryan Murphy did this on purpose. Just like you also made the connection that they did a crossover between the odd numbers, and then they did the crossover between all three even numbers, or vice versa. With those words.
I don't think it's significant. I think I don't want to say laziness, but I feel like it's cheaper to shoot in the present, and then so one season they're in the present, and then they're like, oh, we're going to do this whole thing in the past, and then they realize how expensive and annoying that is, so they go back to the present. That's kind of what I think.
I don't know.
Am I just cynical?
That's a little.
I don't know if it's that either. You can't do Asylum in present day. I mean, the horrors of it isn't from the past.
That's true. You can't.
Witches you can do wherever you want, and it's kind of. I don't know if it's more interesting or not, but I kind of enjoyed seeing the present day version of the Witches. We see a lot of stuff that takes place in Salem and different things there, so I find that interesting. But I don't know. Freak Show, I think, also had to be in the past. It had to be.
There are no more sideshows. Mm-hmm. Not like that.
No, definitely not like that. So, how do we feel about the crossovers?
So I'm really, spoiler alert, super sad that this season takes out Queenie from Coven, played by Gabourey Sidibe. I mean,
yeah, that was kind of a throwaway. Let's have her come in for one time just to kill her.
Yeah, that's rude.
Seemed like a.
And also, she was an unusual kind of a witch. Like, I've never seen anyone depict a living voodoo doll before, and now they killed her off, and Angela Bassett ate her. Which is ironical, since she comes from the voodoo line that Angela Bassett heads in Coven.
Yeah.
Do you think... I go back and forth on this. Sometimes I think Ryan Murphy is planned out in a way, but it's talked about, I don't know how it's going to end once we start shooting. So I'm almost going back on this, but do you think that they picked her to kill her off because maybe when they cross over with the witches more, she'll have a different part to play?
I don't know. Ryan Murphy's kind of, I don't know who's running the show right now. If he's just executive producing and coming in at the beginning of the season and letting others run the show, because I know he's creating yet another series of mini movies that is going to star Jessica Lange and Kathy Bates and somebody else important. That is about Betty Davis and Joan Crawford.
Oh.
So he has his tradition, because he's also done Nip Tuck, he's also done Glee, is that he starts off very, very strong, and then as his mind wanders and he goes off to create another series, he leaves other people running his show that aren't necessarily as consistent with whatever the original strength of vision was. And Nip Tuck notoriously got worse, Glee notoriously got worse, and I'm afraid that American Horror Story might do the same. The only difference is, what is saving, I think, American Horror Story is that it's an anthology series with different seasons so that the story is encapsulated. But as far as the crossing over and the connection of it all, whether or not it's planned, I think somebody planned it. I don't know if he planned it, because that's why I think he's answering the way he's answering.
I don't think they planned it ahead of time. I think they're clever enough to go back
And
retroactively
Make it work.
That's my gut instinct. But
I also realized, I guess I probably wouldn't care if the actress who played Queenie was two different characters in one season, since I didn't mind that Sarah Paulson was two different characters in this season at all. And they did more with that Billy D character than I thought they were towards the end. Like, it was a pretty important part of those episodes that she was there communicating with Iris and Liz, and then doing her almost Geraldo-like interview.
Plus, it didn't bother me because the Sally character is dead and the Billy character is alive. So you could kind of, in my brain anyway, I was like, well, that kind of makes sense, you know. Not like so much as, like, reincarnation crossed my brain for a second, but then I was like, but then how does that work when Sally's a ghost tied to this hotel? At least she's dead, you know. So you can write off that sort of doppelganger quality of the two characters in your mind if you really want to.
That's true. One of the other things we've kind of talked about the other 4 episodes of this show is the ties to reality that they like to pull in. And I feel like this one was a lot stronger. Not just the actual serial killers that they brought in, which I'd like to talk about too, but James Patrick Marsh is based on H.H. Holmes. And I personally am intrigued by that storyline. The most prolific serial killer of all time. He did his killing in my hometown. He graduated from the University of Michigan with a doctorate.
Oh, no.
The only serial killer to finish his medical degree.
thanks, Marines.
Hey, this is 100 years ago or more.
And he didn't need a hotel to hide and do the things that James Patrick Marsh did to cover up his tracks. So just refresh us, how do you guys like when they pull in from reality, or do you think like this is just horror fantasy, it should be completely separate?
Well, I think it's horror fantasy, but I don't mind that they do it. I think that, and especially in this season, it works because of the story they're trying to set up and making the hotel a character in and of itself, but then an extension of one of the characters as well. I think it works there. As far as the other seasons, I guess it just kind of depends on who the serial killer is. Like Bloody Face, I don't think Asylum could have worked without having a serial killer like that. Murder House, did we see a real serial killer?
I don't know about a real serial...
We saw the Black
the Black
victim.
Dahlia, yeah.
Coven, the Axeman, he's more myth and legend than actual fact. But...
Well, Marie Laveau.
And Marie Laveau.
Marie...
Madame Laveau.
Madame, yes, thank you.
Yes.
She was real.
Mm-hmm. Well, the
That
X-Man...
was horrible.
Yeah, it was based off the scare of the X-Man, that
Right.
whether that was one person or, I don't know, but...
Multiple people. And who was it in Freak Show?
Mandrake? Or is that the roots from
Mordrake?
Harry Potter?
Marjorie.
Mandrake is the roots from Harry Potter. Mordrake.
Similar.
We're too nerdy for basic good.
Mordrake. Yeah.
And a lot of the show Freaks were based on real people. I mean,
Yeah, but not serial killers.
Yeah.
well, I didn't know.
It was more just serial killers in this season, but I was just real things in general. Like real people, whether they were a serial killer or not. Because I don't think.
Let's talk about the serial killers, though.
Let's.
Because this is the one thing that I walked away from hotel with confused about. How, if these serial killers did not die in the hotel, how are they able to come visit John Patrick March on Devil's Night?
Just that night.
But how?
Because he invited him.
But, okay. And how does that even work? And why just those serial killers?
I didn't mind that they didn't explain it well, but they did. They do brush it off with that, like, he mentored them, and it's the same thing with Lo, why he can only visit on that day. Yeah, there's not a lot of logic to it.
And where do they go when it's not Devil's Night?
Hell.
I think it could be hell. They could just be wandering spirits.
How do we know the hotel's not hell?
Well, Liz
With
was
Nancy.
there for a while as a living person and a non-vampire.
How do we know it's not the entrance to hell?
Oh, no three-headed dog.
Abandon all hope, ye who enter here.
Ooh, it could have had 7 floors. Is it 7 circles of hell? 9.
It's 9.
9.
Brush up on your inferno there.
Man, Before we move on from Devil's Night, because I really enjoyed. Is that a 2-parter? It's hard to know with Netflix. I just watch them all as a 13.
No, I think it was a 1, and Ryan Murphy directed that one.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first one he's directed since the pilot, I believe, because he just liked the script so much.
One of the things I loved about it was the portrayals of the serial killers. Lily Rabe, I forget his name from Murder House, who played Ramirez.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because we talked about him, and we said he's never been in anything, and then we figured it out. Yes, he has. He's the person in Murder House who buys the house toward the end, and he plays...
I forget which serial killer.
Yeah.
And then
Seth Gable as
Dahmer.
And
And
what's
Twisty
his
the
name?
Clown.
Twisty the Clown. John blah 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 blah.
John Wayne Gacy. No, yeah.
Yeah,
Gacy.
John Carroll
Was-
Lynch is his name though.
John Wayne Gacy.
Was
As
played by the
John-
same guy who played
Played
Twisty.
by John Carroll Lynch.
the Clown.
John Lynch Carroll. I don't know.
And he got his clown makeup on. So, Kylie already said this, so we probably don't have to... But I was the same. Were you the same with the Ten Commandments killer? Was it a surprise that it was Detective Lowe?
Hex no.
Okay. I feel like they tried to play it like a suspenseful, you won't figure it out, but I don't think that
And the thing
worked.
with that little girl vampire, I'm like, she's totally a vampire. Remember that little girl that was with him, and she ran out in front of a car, and she was like, "I'll help you find the killer." Whatever. I was like, "You're a vampire. Get over it. We already saw you as a vampire, child."
One of the more terrifying parts of this show, just to think about, was when the kids were turned into, like... No, the second most terrifying. The first is the anti-vaxxer mom. And then the second is the...
Played by Match and
Getting
Amick.
political on the podcast.
What? Looks what happens. I remember when the episode ended and, like, you just know that there's these kids going out there killing people, potentially turning, that it would, like, escalate.
Yeah.
And then I was
Then we didn't see it for like a couple
For a while.
episodes. Like, what is happening with that?
And I did not, like, sometimes you don't see something for a while, there's enough going on, you don't notice it, and it's like, oh, there it is, they didn't forget about it. But I didn't forget about it. It was like, what's going on with these children? How many people have they killed? Are they turning more people? Then I feel like, oh, we got them all to go in this hallway and let Angela Bassett destroy them. I don't know. It was kind of a letdown at the end there. I almost thought they might have left it like a cliffhanger, like Murder House left. Is the Antichrist born? Who knows? They wrapped it up instead of having a loose end. I'm not sure which is better in my mind.
Jack's agreeing with you.
Oh, good.
You can hear
Jack,
him.
the junior podcaster.
Yeah, he did not watch this show. He's not allowed to.
That's probably
Yeah,
the thing.
it's not for you.
The vampire children were scary, and it was another interesting twist for vampire fiction.
That was a scary in the school, and like
Uh-huh.
that guy was trying to get away and get help, and they just kept getting him. I'm like, oh god, just let him get away and get help. And
Yeah,
it
I
was
think
not-
that the school moment for me was the equivalent of the freak show moment where Dandy does his first kill and is failing at it. Like, it was
I
different
had
levels
some-
of intense, but that was the closest I had.
I had some moments with the guy in the bed and getting sewn into the bed, and they were in the bed. Ugh. That was...
Yeah, so that's another question I had at the end of Hotel, which is different than the vampire children.
Yeah.
What the heck was that thing?
The
with
addiction
spiky
demon.
metal dildo. Yeah.
I'm
Where
just
did it come
moderating.
from?
I am not defending.
No, I know. I'm just asking, Nick.
I do
don't
have
understand
addiction
that.
demon on something that I wanted to bring up because we got nothing out of it.
No, he was, disturbing as all. And then Schmidt from New Girl.
Max Green?
Yeah. appears and,
All strung out and not Schmidt-like.
and not Schmidt-like, and then he gets, violated by this addiction demon.
And we think he's dead, right? Isn't it
Yeah.
episodes later that he,
She sewed him into the bed, and then he was just in the bed, and then he killed Naomi Campbell. That's when Naomi Campbell came into play, remember?
Right.
Because Nick and I were talking
picture
about this,
her.
and he's like, when was Naomi Campbell in this?
How this I don't even understand how this demon came to be. Where did it come from? Why is it important?
It's as annoying as the aliens in Asylum, except then it's not it wasn't as integral to the plot, so I could almost forgive it. But
I feel like
agree
it
with you.
was a manifestation of the addiction and how addiction takes over people. And I'm not saying this makes sense, but to me, I felt like that's what they were going for, is like, oh, you heroin addicts, this addiction demon is a representation. And she's like...
But there was only two heroin addicts.
Right.
But they were the only two that we saw him go after.
So then the question I would have is, okay, I'll buy this if they're selling that, then why didn't other things manifest?
I don't know. It was very weird.
No, it was...
And disturbing.
It also
I felt
harkened
like it
to
was the Rubber Man on speed.
Yeah.
Right. It was supposed to just freak our freak. And then...
No, but I think it's an example of we started writing episodes and we started filming them before we finished writing the rest of the episodes. And we have too much going on. We might see him pop up, but there's no room for the story for this. That's the best explanation I have for it. But
yeah,
I agree with you. I didn't need more of it, though, so I almost didn't mind. I just would have rather...
Well, in the first episode is when we first saw it, and I thought, oh, this is going to be the thing. This is the whole thing. This is the thing. Yeah, you thought so, too? Jack thought so, too. I was like, this is going to be the thing, and then it wasn't a thing. It went away, and then... I don't know.
Yeah, it is just like the aliens. But, see, the more we talk about it, the more I feel like I even like Asylum better. Because Asylum, at least for me, had kind of really powerhouse tour de force performances by a lot more of the players, including Sarah Paulson, including Jessica Lange, including Zachary Quinto, including a lot of Lily Rabe, a lot of those people. Hotel it was underwhelming. I think it was underwhelming. And because there's a lot of, there are some things that were wrapped up too neatly and too quickly, and other things that were left there. And aside from a few striking visuals and, Lady Gaga being better than I thought she was going to be, and some other characters that were featured in the season, I just feel like, plus it ended very abruptly. I don't know if you have a question going to this later on.
Just general consensus about the ending of the season, but it was... What were you going to say?
I just think it ended very abruptly. It did this epilogue, which was actually kind of cool, because you got a little bit of a fast forward, like how long does this actually go on, and where do these characters kind of end up. And then Lady Gaga's chatting up somebody in the bar, and boom, that's the end.
I feel like it would have been better if they didn't have the Lady Gaga thing.
I agree.
Because it was... I struggle with the endings of a lot of these seasons.
Why do I not remember this? What happened?
The epilogue?
Yeah.
Basically, you get to see all the different characters 15 years or 7 years or how many years in the future, and...
They're all fashion models.
Yeah. Well, because
Will
Drake is running his empire from the hotel as a Walking Dead kind of person, and, being helped along by Liz Taylor, Dennis O'Hare's character, and, of course, the Countess is kind of invested in this as well. And this is all fine and good, and, so as a result, the Hotel Cortez is booming, and you come by the end of the episode, we're in the bar, and the Countess has decided to chat up somebody because apparently she's still a vampire as a ghost.
Right.
That's right.
And she kind of looks at the camera at the end or something.
Yeah.
I just forgot the part about her. I knew she was a ghost because she's stuck with her husband now forever, but...
And then it just ends, and it ends very abruptly, and I felt like, well, that was pretty anticlimactic and kind of stupid.
Yeah, it was a stupid button.
Stupid button!
It was a button on a shirt with a zipper.
Okay. Nice, Nick.
I got nothing after that, sorry.
That's all you need.
So if you haven't watched this season, just stop right before that Lady Gaga moment, and it'll be a better ending.
Possibly. I don't know where to end it.
I guess I didn't mind it. I don't know.
I was having feelings by that point, though.
I'm sensing that. Seriously, like, after one episode of this season, I think I said to Nick, this is terrible. I don't even want to watch this. I'm going to tell Kylie, I don't even want to watch this. I hate it. Then, like, 3 in, and I was like, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
I never thought, oh, this is good. I did think after... I never thought that. I did think after a couple of episodes, I can see why Sarah might not like this one.
Yeah, because I don't do... the getting sewed into the bed thing just... Ugh.
Well, I think the crime scenes, even though...
Those were pretty bad.
I think
especially the one with the couple in the bed.
Mm-hmm. They just... Yeah. You didn't like that, if I'm remembering correctly.
Well, I'm sure.
If you're human, you wouldn't
People
like that.
listening to this are like, I know she didn't like that. That girl, she's scared of everything.
We haven't really talked about a character that I consider one of the main characters. In a season with vampires, ghosts, and addiction demons, we have this just human story of the Liz Taylor character. And it was like one of my favorite parts, which that's not why I watch American Horror Story. I watch it for the ghosts and vampires, not the addiction demons. But how did we all feel about that? We touched about his performance.
I think it's very relevant to our culture and our country and different things that are going on right now. I think it was beautiful. I loved it. I loved the ending. I love that she wanted to resolve things with her son and then got to do that. And then when she found out she was dying, made a choice to die in the hotel and stay. I loved it. I thought it was beautiful and very poetic. And maybe one of my favorite story arcs of the whole series was Liz Taylor's story arc. Because it was upsetting, of course, but I could live with it. I could live with the kind of upsetting that it was.
Mm-hmm.
There was definitely a message underlying it, but I agree. It was one of my favorite parts of this season because it was one of the only parts that was fully fleshed out. And then coupled with his performance, Dennis O'Hare's performance, and even Finn Whitrock, who played Dandy in Freak Show and played the model Tristan and then Valentino, which was a weird sort of doppelganger parallel that they were trying to set up. But he did a really good job playing opposite Dennis O'Hare in these scenes. And I also agree it was very beautiful and kind of a moment of relief amongst all the craziness of the hotel itself. So you're right, it's not something you normally would watch American Horror Story for, but sort of the human interest kind of peeks through in all of the seasons, but this time it really kind of shined.
Well, usually horror uses the witches are the outside. They use metaphor in the horror genre, but this wasn't a metaphor. This was telling a story and telling a good story.
I almost forgot about him and Finn Whitrock and their love story, and I love that she contacted him and he said, I don't want to see you, or I don't want to contact you, but it was because he didn't want that for
He
him.
didn't want her to get stuck in the hotel.
Right.
And
I
then
just loved it.
A pretty powerful scene with his son.
Yep.
Where he knows it's his son but doesn't know that.
They actually both know.
They both
Right.
know, but we didn't know the son knew.
Right.
So we were like, oh, what's the deal here? Yeah, that was great. Because weren't you expecting that to go terribly wrong? I was.
Yeah, that was definitely the more likely option.
But
Which they set up because, when he kind of becomes Liz the very first time. He's there on a business trip with two of his co-workers who discover him in his transformation stage. So they definitely put a chronology to that, and that's why you kind of do expect the son, who could have every right to be angry at him. I mean, she did kind of abandon her son, but at the same time, it was a very compassionate story. And the character is very compassionate, too. Liz Taylor has compassion for everybody, even the Kathy Bates character, who she starts off hating at first. So.
She starts out hating it. It's like almost a buddy movie between them.
I know.
I love that moment when they're both shooting at the
Countess.
Contessa
is kind of the same
yeah.
word.
Yeah, and when she shows Liz her suicide video.
Suicide slideshow with rainbows.
Mm-hmm. What was it? I Hope You Dance playing?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
because Nick looked it up the other day in preparation for this. I'm like, what are you listening to? It's Iris's.
It still made me
video.
laugh.
There's like a chimp
There's a chimp holding a baby tiger cub, which is redundant. A tiger cub. It's always a baby.
What? We have hardly talked about Kathy Bates.
We haven't. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, she was there.
That's my hypothesis is based on her other characters of this show. I feel like this wasn't a character that stood out by any means.
No. The Iris character didn't have any affectations like murderous racism like Madame Lalaurie or, the beard.
Right.
Like Ethel.
Yeah.
And the Baltimorean accent.
I still feel like before this season I would have said like, oh, I wish they would have used her more in Freak Show. She was kind of just there. And I feel like that she was in season 5 more, but I still feel like a lot of times she was just there.
Yeah, it didn't bother me, but there was a lot of time where she kind of, we need a plot device. Let's let Iris be the one to meet with and do this, because Kathy can pull that off. So that's why I mentioned that conversation to go. And that was fine. They gave her the whole, she's Donovan's mom. That was the most important thing. That was her driving force. Then she had the suicide video, which was awesome.
And then she became a vampire.
She became a vampire, yep. She did indecisive suicide option, right? She had to lay out all the possible weapons on the bed for her and Liz to pick. Because they were
Liz did that.
Oh, Liz did?
Liz laid them out.
Oh.
I don't remember.
I thought it was Iris.
Well, maybe she did. She was very preparatory. And he did, or she did. It's hard with pronouns when Iris is with her. Liz was like, never mind, I can't do it, I'm in love.
Right.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, she was already, yes. So I do think she said it all out. Not a big plot point that we need to overanalyze who set the weapons out.
Fine, Nick. Settle down.
Was there... It's weird getting the sass from the other...
Welcome to my world. Now you know how it feels.
Kylie's world. Da, da, da. That's the A-Team.
Well, that is the A-Team.
It's weird.
Such a good theme song.
I was wondering if there's any favorite or anything we didn't touch on throughout the season that you guys wanted to bring up.
I liked that we saw Marcy, Christine Estabrook, the realtor.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about
That was enjoyable.
House.
I was just watching Bones the other day, and she appeared, and I'm like, hey!
Was she a realtor?
No, she was a lawyer, I think.
She kind of pops up in a lot of
Yeah,
places.
she does. And I was like, hey, you.
Was this the third season that character was in, or just the second?
Second.
Why do I feel like she was in something other than Murder House?
She wasn't. I found a really cool graphic on Huffington Post, and it was a chart of like all the characters played by the actors in what seasons. I should have saved it or put it on. You could have posted it, but
I think you sent it to me.
Did I?
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, I loved it.
It was awesome to look through.
But she was only one, and then this, and she met her demise.
But she's a ghost.
Yeah.
It's true.
Crossover.
So I enjoyed seeing her, and Max Greenfield, that was great, and Darren Criss from Glee.
Oh yeah, Darren Criss. He was the one who wanted to eat the warm lettuce.
the warm lettuce?
Yeah, wasn't it warm lettuce? He
and
something?
Iris killed them, right?
Yes.
They were her first kill.
As a vampire.
Oh,
they
yes.
were like the hipster.
Obnoxious, and then they kind of hang around and just later come in and try to kill people.
We did have we didn't talk about any of these random characters that come to the hotel and never leave.
The two German lady girls.
Swedish, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Lumberjacks. The lumberjack? I
think
feel like
he's
the
just a
Swedes
hipster.
call him the lumberjack.
Because he's just a hipster.
Yeah.
With a man bun.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a lot of hipsters that come through this hotel.
Yeah, that's true.
So I enjoyed all of them. I thought they did a nice job.
I like the ghost meeting at the bar. Sorry to bring after I asked you guys to talk.
The ghost meeting at the bar?
Is it Liz and Iris who are running the hotel and we're like, we have to stop murdering people more people will come.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that moment.
That was
a
very
good
adding
moment.
some comedy, some comedic
was-
irony, because you should probably stop killing people if you want to get guests.
It reminded me, it was almost the opposite. This is a dumb Simpsons reference where they spoof Shining and all the ghosts are like, come on, Homer, you gotta murder people. Murder your family. But it was the opposite.
I really enjoyed Wes Bentley. I know we kind of haven't really talked about him so much. Obviously, he plays the serial killer in question this time, other than the ghost of John Patrick March. And I loved him as kind of the main character, the window that we looked into this time, because even though it was predictable who he ended up being, they did it in such a way that there was still a little bit of question, a little bit of intrigue, and you sympathized with him the entire time. So, and plus I love him. He was from American Beauty, and he was, the more Drake Mandrake from Freak Show.
I didn't realize that while we were watching it, and Sarah had to remind me, because there was moments where I didn't connect with his performance.
Really?
I just didn't find him as one of the stronger actors in this season.
Oh, I liked him.
I will say one thing that was confusing, and somebody had put a graphic up. It was a little bit hard that Evan Peters, Wes Bentley, Matt Bomer, and Cheyenne Jackson, and Finn Wittrock are all these brunette guys that are they all almost look similar, but not really. But they're all just these attractive, of the same age sort of guys. And it did get a little bit whoa, who's who again and what's what?
Matt Bomer and Cheyenne Jackson in particular look quite a bit alike, I would say. I think Evan Peters doesn't look...
Yeah.
Not in this, but
yeah.
but Finn Wittrock, I thought he and Matt Bomer, sometimes I was like, who, what, which one are you again?
Well, yeah, did you mention the guy from New Girl? For a second
Max
I thought...
Greenfield.
Except he came in with that really weird bleach job.
Yeah.
So.
I agree, there was some... It was interesting with all of those actors to have one of them play two parts in the same season, because then I was like, oh, he's playing two parts. And I kept thinking it was Donovan was also playing the Valentino character. I couldn't keep that straight very easily.
I wondered why they didn't make Finn Wittrock a series, one of the main cast. He was only a special guest star.
I think he had theater commitment or something.
Okay.
I thought I read something.
I thought Mare Winningham was in plenty of episodes too, and I think she's was a special guest or not. I don't know.
Maybe with some of them, it might be the way they negotiated their contract. Maybe it's better to be special guest star than just one of the main people, but your own one. Sometimes I wonder about stuff like that. I'm so cynical today.
You are.
It's all about money. But truly, they do that.
But it is about money. They can only pay a certain amount to that.
Right.
The characters, or the actors, so they have to spread it out and have certain
Maybe they
people
had
in
to
less.
spend a lot of money on Lady Gaga.
I hope not. But like I said, I was shocked Angela Bassett was in the opening title sequences. They didn't use her to her full potential. Not that I needed more of that character, but I
could have been okay without that character.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately. You're right, it did nothing.
It did clean up the...
Vampire children.
Yeah.
But then it made her sick, so that she then had to go kill Queenie, so that she wouldn't be sick.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like it. Disagree with the whole thing.
I kind of wanted to go back to Detective Lowe's character, because he's a serial killer. We shouldn't... And then he ends up a vigilante, and I don't know. Before you know he's a serial killer, you're I personally wanted him and his wife to, like, work it out. And then he's a serial killer. I'm like, oh no, she shouldn't be with him. Oh, but she's a vampire. And he needs to kill bad guys so they could drink her blood. I don't know. That was kind of a weird twist for me. But I did like that they didn't just forget about that one daughter. Like, we got to kind of tie up her.
Yeah, because I was constantly pissed about that. I'm like, what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
So you said when you had your son you liked him more than your daughter, Chloe 70, which, that's terrible. And then, like, now you're just going to go be a vampire and be with him, and then, like, peace out, little girl, good luck out in the world. Oh, she's at grandma's. And why isn't this grandma calling CPS? Like, isn't she suspecting? I know these are the questions I ask. But yes.
But I think this might be closer to your answer on the Devil's Night thing, is that isn't Detective Lowe out on the streets killing people for his family, his vampire family, once he's dead? Or is this, am I forgetting? Did that happen before he died?
That happens before he died.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
And then he dies, and then he only comes back Devil's Night, so that's why, what is her name,
The
Scarlet?
daughter.
Yes,
Scarlet,
Scarlet
yeah.
comes back on those nights.
And does she go to the same school as Will Drake's son or
Yes.
something? That was nice that they kept them two characters together that didn't have anything to do with each other.
Made us feel better.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know.
Because there was times I was like, where's that kid that Will Drake brought into this hotel? I was curious, we kind of got hints at it, but how does this affect your ranking of the 5 seasons now?
Well, after talking through it, I think Hotel is my least favorite. Honestly, after Asylum. Yep.
And what was your favorite? Remind everyone.
Murder House. For me, it goes Murder House, Coven, Freak Show, Asylum, Hotel.
Sarah.
You know I struggle with this. I'm going to say Coven, Freak Show, Hotel, Murder House, Asylum. But maybe did I just go backward? No, not.
Not really.
It's really hard for me to rank these because they're so different.
Mm-hmm.
And I never want to watch any of them again because they're terrifying to me. But when it comes down to it, it's the storyline that intrigued me, I guess. And the Murder House one, I'm like, whatever, just leave. Like, I can't handle it. I'm sorry, but if there were ghosts in my house, I would not come back here.
But that's why I liked Murder House, because they did try to leave, and every time they tried to leave, something else presented itself. It felt like a true haunted house story with a lot of different twists, and the twists all kind of twisted in the end to a neat little bow that the other seasons don't quite have, except for maybe Coven. Coven I like almost as much as Murder House. The only reason I think I like it a little bit less is just because sort of kind of the way it ended a little bit, I think, but I still like it a lot.
How about you, Nick?
Pretty sure I like season 5 more than season 4.
Wow.
Just a little bit. I think I like crossover or callback or like that. The more crossovers they do, the more I think I'll like it. And I'm not sure why that is, except that anytime someone from Next Gen was on Deep Space Nine, I loved it. Or if Q brought Riker into Voyager. I don't know if the Star Trek universe and my weird nerddom is bleeding into it, but oh man, that derailed me.
You were ranking your favorites.
Oh, I really enjoy the crossover. So I appreciated that of Freak Show, but I think it's really hard for me. I know I liked Asylum more than both of you, and I can't remember if I like it more than Coven or not. But Murder House is my favorite.
When we really start talking about it, then I'm like, well, Asylum wasn't so bad. Maybe I like that more than... it's really hard for me to pick these. And I'm a very decisive person, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Am I not?
Yeah.
That's true.
So it's weird that I'm struggling with this so much. But
Is it like a Sophie's Choice?
I purposely have never seen that movie. I can't handle that. I can't handle that sort of situation.
Well, there you go.
I'm not very good at coping with...
Choices of life or death.
Yeah.
Is anyone disappointed Lady Gaga didn't sing in this season?
No.
Or...
I'm not disappointed. I was surprised she didn't sing. I thought for sure with all the singing in other seasons they would have made her sing.
I thought they would have too, especially when I saw Will Drake. Like, oh, he can sing, maybe.
Yeah.
But that's what I don't know why I let that throw me, because when I heard I almost said David Hyde Pierce.
Oh, that would be good.
Neil Patrick Harris. When I saw that he was going to be in Freak Show, I'm like, they're singing a lot in Freak Show. There's no way he won't not sing.
Well, Darren Criss can sing. They should have got him. Gaga and Cheyenne. They could have done a little...
I think they should do American Horror Story, the musical.
I'd watch
Who
that.
would we all play?
Well,
Who would we play?
is it a haunted musical?
Yeah, why not?
There's just ghosts and stuff?
I don't know what the plot is, but it can be awesome.
As long as it's all singing.
I mean, well, this is what I'm saying. It has to be all singing.
That's true.
It would,
If
and it doesn't
anyone
have to
could
be
do it, it would be
15.
Ryan Murphy.
I would think so.
Right? Jane Lynch could be in it for some reason.
She did sing on Glee. Not often, though.
What do we hope to see in future seasons? Anything? Jessica Lange ever coming back in this crossover thing?
I don't know if they're going to convince her to do it.
She has said very decisively she is not doing anymore.
Since they announced that the season 7 is a crossover one, like she won't pop in? Well, I think if she does do a one episode cameo, we won't know about it until it airs.
She has said she won't, but I don't know anything about season 7. You have more information than I do.
I thought Kylie said.
They have been rumoring, I don't know how official it is, that it's going to be a crossover season between the Murder House and Coven casts. I don't know how they're going to make that happen or who it's going to be. It's just been sort of teased out, as often happens at this stage of the active American Horror Story season. I don't know what episode they're on of Roanoke right now, but there can't be much more than a month's left of episodes, especially since they started earlier.
I think they're about to air episode 9, so...
Yep. So it's about this time when they start circulating those rumors, so I don't know how true it is. It would be interesting. I don't know what they would do with that, but I would be really surprised if Jessica Lange agreed to do it if she's also doing this other series and playing either Betty Davis or Joan Crawford. So I don't remember which one she's playing, but...
Did you say it was her and Kathy Bates?
Kathy's
somebody
not.
else.
Kathy's not.
Yeah.
The other.
Okay, I couldn't see Kathy Bates' either.
There's another big actress, but I don't remember who it is right now. And I don't remember what it's called. I just remember reading and thinking, oh, I'll add that to my list. Oh, plus Ryan Murphy created Scream Queen.
It's called Feud. She is playing Joan Crawford.
There you go.
And
Where's Betty Davis?
Susan Sarandon.
That's it.
Oh.
Other people involved in it. Kathy Bates is Joan Blondell.
Yeah. She's
Dominic
a famous
Burgess. Judy Davis. Jackie Hoffman. Alfred Molina. Sarah Paulson. Stanley Tucci. Catherine Zeta-Jones as Olivia de Havilland.
Oh.
Some good casting.
Olivia's alive still.
Yes, she is. And lots of other good... Twink Kaplan. Lots of good people.
And that's season 5 of American Horror Story. Thanks, Kylie, for letting me take the reins.
No problem, Nick. And with that said, thanks to Nick and Sarah for joining me again for the American Horror Story series. This concludes our discussion about Hotel. The next time this panel reconvenes will be to discuss Roanoke, which is season 6 and is currently airing. As we said, I think it's episode 9. We will reconvene after that season finale airs at some point to talk about what it looks like in colonial times in the American Horror Story universe and how these players are doing. Until that time, of course, we have several more new episodes coming down the pike. I listed a bunch of them in the introduction. We have a lot more in store. There will be a couple of reruns in the coming weeks, given that Thanksgiving and Christmas are right around the corner and couch potatoes need to take holidays too. But we will definitely resume full steam with episodes weekly, especially after the new year hits, once all of our active shows go into mid-season hiatus. Until that time, keep listening, keep watching, keep checking us out at couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram. Find us at any one of our feed channels, including iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and YouTube. We're everywhere. You cannot miss us. Search for us. There's also lots of shows that we cover. There's bound to be something that fits your taste. Keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned, and until next time, bye.